هيدي أول مرة بنكون فيها مع بعض على المسرح. And suddenly the audience started clapping and I was like, what? Why are they clapping? Like it's not funny. Deciding to do theater is something, like everybody can decide to go and do theater, but deciding to continue on doing theater is something else. You are 18, 19, 20 and you want to change the world, and it's a space where you can change the world. You're surrounded by theater and other playwrights. These women have left a legacy for me that at the moment I felt that I was doing theater because women like Hanane and Randa, they have opened a way for me. I am not here to educate you. I would have been an educator or a teacher. I am an artist. This is what I'm proposing, and this is it.
Hey, welcome to the Art Center podcast with Fikra. My name is Mikey Mhenna. This podcast series is in collaboration with the Art Center at NYU Abu Dhabi. This is the third season of the podcast, and I'm really happy to have on the series Chrystèle Khodr, who is a theater maker from Lebanon. Chrystèle, welcome to the series.
Thank you for having
me. Maybe a good place to start is to just start with the play, then we can go from there and talk about your career and some of the themes in the play. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about this two-person production. What is it?
I'm bringing Augurs or homage in English, or Augurs, لعل وعسى in Arabic. It's the real story of two actresses, Hanane and Randa Asmar, who have started their path, their career in theater in the 80s. Mainly they began working in late 70s, beginning of the 80s. And through the real stories, I wanted to retrace the fragments or the archives of what is left from the Lebanese theater, or the theater that was being done in Lebanon during this period. This period, it was really like in the middle of the Lebanese civil war. And one of the actresses, Randa Asmar, was working in East Beirut, and the other for Hajj was working in West Beirut at the time. So through their theater making or their theater engagement this time, I was trying to unfold what was happening in the theatrical life in this during these times of war.
Yeah. So I want to read you a sentence from the application that you presented, or from the little brief paragraph that you presented to OFAG in 2018. And I want to get a sense of how that original vision changed from what it actually became. So you said in that little blurb, you said, two actresses and an actor come back to their journey in theater from the moment they've decided to work in theater in the early 1980s during the Civil War. Their testimonies reconstitute the memory of Beirut at the time where the city was divided between East and West. They retrace their personal and professional souvenirs, the map of the theaters and venues that no longer exist. The project questions the theatrical activity during the decades of war since 1980 until 1981, the year of the signature amnesty law that ended 15 years of fighting in Lebanon, and the relation of these actors to the profession today. That idea, how much did it evolve from when you applied for the grant in 2018, or when you first started thinking of the idea, whenever you started to think the idea, until now? How much did it shift and change?
The premiere of the play was in 2021. So I started working on the play with the actresses and the actor who was with us, Remo Husni, in 2018, 19, and 20. What happened during the rehearsals, and what happened, because we were rehearsing in Lebanon, of course, we got the revolution, we got in Lebanon the economical crisis, the collapse of the Lebanese pound. We got COVID, and then we got the port blast. So what happened is that we stopped working on the play, and I felt the emergency really to do it, because I was about to stop doing it, because nothing felt that it has any sense for me and for the actresses, of course, especially after the blast. And then the actor was living in France at the moment. So, and also during the first rehearsals, because it was, uh, we felt that it was really a women-driven narrative. It was what were these actresses as women, and I felt also this, that these women have um, left a legacy for me. That at the moment, I felt that I was doing theater because women like Hanane and Randa, they have opened a way for me. So what has shifted is mainly that Remo Hosni was not with us anymore. Uh, and also, Hanan and Randa understood in a way that, yes, what they had to say was very important, because the new generation, even the artists, all the people who were younger than me, they were living the same thing they lived in the 80s, or almost the same thing. So it became also more urgent for Hanan and Randa to tell the story. So yes, it shifted, and also because I work in a way that is really based on improvisation. It's not a collective writing, but I really put a frame to improvise in this frame. Almost all of the play is about trying to really retrace and trying to again, or to reenact an old play of them. For Hanan is أيام الخيام of troupe Hakawati, and for Randa Asmar is a play by Remo Jbara called Sana al-Ahlam, that was an adaptation from Men of La Mancha. So during the whole play, they try to reenact, but they cannot do it. And then towards the end, there is a shift happening, and they begin and they start to be in the here and now. So
Yeah.
yet it shifted since the 2018 application of FR, but until 2021, many things happened to our bodies uh, as uh, as political bodies living in Lebanon. So this is what mainly shifted. But the idea of retracing or questioning the theatrical movement in the 80s, where some people say there weren't any theater that was being done, is not true. The theater life continued during, and really it prospered even more during this time.
It's interesting, this idea of like you're working on this piece that's sort of thinking back to the 80s at a moment like 2019, 20, 21, where there's also so much erasure happening in Beirut, right? People are talking about so many things being lost and how nothing's happening anymore. And it's almost like a mirror, I would imagine, for you guys, but also for the audience. It must feel like almost like you guys are ringing an alarm. Like, we thought nothing was happening in the 80s, and we think nothing is happening now, and neither is true.
Yeah, actually, when we first performed it in Torosal Theater in May 21, what was really very, very shocking, because I was only working with my team, and I didn't confront it to the audience before. And what happened during the premiere, it was really the first play that was being performed after the COVID lockdown in Teatro Nussol. So what happened is that at a moment there is a line, Hanan said that this is the first time that we play together, that we are on stage together. هيدي أول مرة بنكون فيها مع بعض على المسرح. And suddenly the audience started clapping. And I was like, what? What? Why are they clapping? Like it's not funny. And when I asked the audience why, and it happened every night, it happened. They told me because it felt so true. It felt so true. هيدي أول مرة بنكون على المسرح مع بعض. Hanan and Renda don't only represent two big figures of the Lebanese theater. They also represent movements of theater happening in East Beirut and in West Beirut. And they represent really prototypes of cliches people have of a Christian artist and of a Muslim artist. And what was happening at the time in East Beirut, it was really the cliche of it, if you want to be very reductive, is the theater that is more a big public, more popular. And in West Beirut, it was more the experimental theater or the life of troops, or more evenly politically engaged theater. So, but during the play, we understand that no, it's really not that what is happening. So when it was first confronted to the Lebanese audience in the beginning, I felt that the audience felt that there is something in the imaginary subconscious, in the common subconscious they have with the actresses and with the stage, actually, that is being being told and being unfolded in front of them. Uh, and I hope that it doesn't mirror what is happening today, doesn't mirror what was happening in the 80s, because in the 80s, really people were under bombs, and really Lebanese citizens were killing each others. And I don't believe that today uh, this is what's really happening, because really living under shellings is also different from what is happening now uh, of warlords who are actually thieves. After the killing, they stole. So
Yeah.
it's a bit more nuanced, and hope, because also you feel in the play, and what I discovered is the circulation in the city. Now we are able to circulate, and it's not really mirroring. But yes, it's to say that there were people, because you used word erasure, is the systematic erasure, and in theater you can do it really quickly, because the archives in Lebanon are not preserved. Each artist, they keep its own archive. So it was, yes, a systematic erasure, and what we tried to do with Randa and Hanane, who I call them living archives, is
Yeah.
really to unfold just slowly, to say what was happening in this city, and that people, they weren't living far from each other, especially theater people, even if they weren't working together, but they used to go and watch each other's play, and also they used to work for this this art that was and is still now really, um, if I can use the word, abandoned by the public authorities. You know, it was like really all the time individuals who were trying to keep theater going.
Can we talk a little bit about the legacy of theater in Lebanon? This term theater maker. So maybe we'll use your story as an example. How did you become interested in this world? How did you, go from a child growing up in Lebanon to saying, I think I actually want to do this as a career. I want to enter this world that exists here. Like, what inspired you to become a part of this scene?
And many things, happen in school. This is why really schools, I really mean it, are very, very important. And really what I wish for Lebanon, for example, is that we really have a system of public schools, well, where all the children are equal. Many things happen in schools. And I remember having beautiful theater teachers in school. This is what really I remembered. And I remember when I went to the Lebanese university, and it still exists, really. And I am like Hanan and Randa. We are students of this university, of this. It's kind of family where you discover other people, uh, other people's world. Because I was in the university in 2001, and I never was out of my. I come from the northern suburbs and was never out of my northern suburbs, as well as all the students there, because the public university is still divided between section 1 and section 2, much less now in the last 10 years. Meaning, just for the audience to be very blunt, section 1 is for Muslims who sit in the play, and section 2 is for the Christians. And it happened because during the Lebanese civil war, the students couldn't come anymore to the downtown, because it was a no man's land with lots of lots of armed people. The combats weren't in the downtown. It became squads for militiamen, just to give the configuration. And we talk about this in the play. So what happens when I go to this theater school, and I discover on this new world around me, and I discover that there is something else than there's something else. And when I discovered really not only in the university, what was happening in the beginning in the early 2000s is all these uh, still the word in Arabic is beautiful. I don't know it. المبادرات الفردية. مبادرة فردية. Um, for example, there was it's closed now, the Théâtre de Beirut, and Théâtre de Beirut was directed by Roger Assaf, and also was directed by the cooperative Shams. Then they still have their theater now in Tayouni, and Roger chose very well. Roger Assaf chose the place Tayouni is really like also the linking points between all the city. But I remember back then during in Théâtre de Beirut, we used to go and see other students from the section one and see other students from other public schools and private schools that were doing theater. So I think that what really, because doing deciding to do theater is something, like everybody can decide to go and do theater, but deciding to continue on doing theater is something else. So what made me want to continue, because your parents never oblige you to do theater or arts. Even if your parents are artists, they would, oh no, don't do it. It's not like I'm going to be a lawyer or a doctor. It's like, oh no. And especially for a woman, it's not only, by the way, in the Arab world, it's all over the world. It's not like the parents are very happy that you become an artist. So yes, what made me want to continue is this word, the sense of community you have in theater, the sense of community when you create a work, and the sense of politics in the theater I make anyway, and with the people I'm involved with while creating. I cannot live without it today. It's the only thing that makes me um, wanna continue. Is all the conversations I have during the rehearsals of any play, all the bodies I discover while creating, all the worlds, because it's a lot of intimate and personal work. So I think yes. And why do I continue in the shape that Lebanon is having today? It's also because today I'm really more attached economically, and this I have to say it, to outside Lebanon. It's been like 7 or 8 years uh, I haven't had got any salary from a Lebanese institution, or from, really, like, really, to be very clear about it. What economically, how can I continue, is because I tour abroad. And when I tour abroad, it's really different. And I still perform my plays and my works in Lebanon, but much less. Like for instance, Augurs, uh, I've performed only 12 times in Lebanon and 28 times abroad. And now with NYU, it would be 30 times abroad. Or Dali, my new play, my latest play, I have performed it 19 times abroad, and still will perform it before bringing it back to Lebanon. But it's a lot of money to be invested. Theater is like this. It's an art. It is many people. and ما فيك تراهن عليه كفن مثل الفن المعاصر مثلا، ما بيرخص سعره وبيغلى. المسرح فيه ناس لازم له دايما مكان. uh, so yeah, it's a difficult path when you only want to do it, but we're doing it, and many other peers in Lebanon are doing it in a way or another. People are finding their way, like people found their way in the 90s, in the 80s. Individuals in a collective way are finding their ways. What we need to do now is to continue, for me and for others of my generation, for younger. But what we need to do now is really also the public school of theater, the Lebanese University, has also to continue. But because all public institutions have been really impacted by the economical crisis. And we shall never forget that all the Lebanese creators today of theater, they come from the school of theater.
Can I ask about the school for a second?
Yeah, sure.
What do you think is, like, educationally, what do you think that they're doing right, the theater department at Lebanese? Because it's amazing how many people come out of this program. It's incredible. Like, what is so special about the actual department?
what's special about it is that, first of all, the students are from the middle class or lower middle class. So really, they are people who have zero legacy of anything. What I mean by this zero legacy of anything, I mean like they are not entitled like in private schools. Or I know not all people in private schools are entitled to whatever. No, it's different. But it's
Yeah.
if I want to take the example of Hanan and Randa, okay, like these two young women in the 70s who came and they didn't have any artistic figure whatsoever in their family. Hanan, like she went to school for 2 years without her father knowing she was in the school. Only her grandma knew. And you will see that Saranda's father, he made a vow to the Virgin Mary so she would not be taken. And you will see it in the play. So students, when they go, their parents really don't want them to go. Plus, the teachers are also artists, and some of them are really, really great teachers, are beautiful teachers, and who really love their students, like genuinely and in a very big generosity. Like for me, for example, I had beautiful teachers like Julia Assar, Aida Sabra, Ruwaida Al-Ghali, and Ula Daniel, who was also the teacher of Hanan. I was with her at Al-Hakawati. So they are artists that are very, very generous. I think it's the students who make the university, but also the teachers. But it's the students. You know, you are 18, 19, 20, and you want to change the world. And it's a space where you can change the world, especially if you are surrounded by theater. By the way, you're
Yeah.
surrounded by theater and other playwrights and a beautiful library. And still now, still after the collapse, it's still a very beautiful place for young people to meet.
Can we talk a little bit about working specifically with Renda and Hanan and how that relationship may have changed over the years? Because every working relationship, it's sort of like, it's like it ripens like a fruit. It changes and there's patina on it over time. How has your relationship with these central figures changed?
Well, before the play, I had a relationship with Hanan, so I knew her better. And Hanan, as I've told you, she was in the theater Beirut, and I remember she could remember everyone's name, and she would ask you things very personal just to check on you if you're good or not good, because just because you were a student who were coming to her theater. If she hears me telling her theater, she would hate it because she never speaks about herself individually. Our theater, she would say, our theater. So Hanan, I knew her from before, and really she's someone who has followed my professional career, if we might say. And Randa, I knew her a bit less, but I really knew that she was a very generous and talented actress, and also she is a director of a festival. So, and also she is very involved in the younger generation. She goes to see every play. So this is if you want the relation before, and also usually when I write is I write and I work with people I know and I love. Yes, this is I have the it's kind of privilege, to not do auditions and stuff like
Yeah.
this. But this for this play is really it was made really really for Hanan and Randa. What happened? And it's a bit intimidating because these women they started to do theater before I was born. I was born in '83, and they were doing theater from 1980s at the beginning. So it was a bit intimidating because also I'd had to be strong because they are really strong-minded women, and it's very good. But it was also a bit difficult because you have these two dragons, really like very strong figures, and you have me trying to say, yes, but maybe if, what if? And then I realized that no, it's not maybe if, let's try this
Yeah.
and we'll see later, like any other actors. And in the beginning, even I thought they didn't need any acting direction. And they were lost. We are actresses. You have to direct us, like just tell us how to feel, how to make it. This was in the beginning, but slowly, because it took time, it took towards 2 years to try things, the rehearsals, and not 2 years every day, every day. It was very fragmented. The relationship changed, but I think that relationship really changed. What was I trying was really, it's the day of the premiere, where they really understood, and I understood what we were doing during these 2 years, because it took us 2 years to get on the same track. Because I've worked in a very, very, very experimental way. So yes, I think that the day of the premiere, everything changed in the professional relationship, because a theater also needs a lot of confidence. You have to trust your partner on stage, and you have to trust the person who is outside the stage. And I think we built this trust relationship, but it was really crowned, if you want, in the day of the premiere. So, and then we toured a lot. So now the relationship is even more different between Hanane and Randa, and between the three of us.
Yeah.
And the rest of the team, of course.
Is it, you mentioned that this sort of like experimental process. How did you know that it was done? How did you know that it was ready to go? Ready to be
I was
premiered?
I'm never sure. I don't know. I'm really a person that doubts a lot. I'm really, and this doesn't help me. I doubt all the time, and no, it's going to be awful. It's not ready. I want to die. I cry, and I don't. I mean, you never know. You never know. You never
Yeah.
know. But what I do, if you want to know, that is that every day I give feedback, and before going on stage, I retry things. And this sometimes is difficult for actors, not only Hanan and Renda, but other actors, is that every day before going on stage, the feedback, and I try out things. So it's never ready. I don't change drastically, but I really like things to be precise, and they change. It's embodied, is being lived, but I never know that it's ready. I never know it's ready. Things are always in my head shaky until we reach the premiere.
Let me ask you about, I think, your latest play that focuses on the moment after the 2020 port blast, or Dali. I'm curious a little bit about the soul of each of these projects. Obviously, they're different, right? The first one, has these two central characters. It's like built about them, they themselves, and so it's semi-biographical or maybe directly biographical. Whereas in this case, it's a cast of characters. But I'm curious about the sort of like the soul of the projects. How are the souls of the projects different?
The two,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very different. It's very different because, and it's not even in the, because sometimes I work by themes, by cycles. I worked on the cycle of economy. So I've had the rise and fall of Orient Swiss, and then who killed Yousef Beidas. They were together. The play Augurs is in a different cycle about memory. This cycle is the justice cycle, and I'm really in need. Today I'm questioning the impunity and injustice, and in this play Ordali, it was this cycle of impunity, and provoke in our souls, people of the generation of the 80s.
Yeah.
And even the plot is on the 1st of September 2020, four friends gather on ruins on a place that is going to be destroyed. So what would happen during that night?
Yeah.
Plus, it's a very free adaptation from Ibsen's The Pretenders. But what we can find in both plays is that we come back to the essence of theater that doesn't exist, for example, in other projects like Record, the last solo I've done this
Yeah.
year, or Rise and Fall of Orient Swiss. It's come back to theater as a place that can save us individually. This is the common ground, I think, between these two plays. It's also because I'm not on stage. Normally, I'm on stage. So also, it's my only two plays where I'm not, and where I'm writing for others. The common one is the theater as a last place where we can I hate this word now, where we can heal, but it's not healing because you don't heal. It's not a hospital, the theater,
Yeah.
but where you can be together. It's the togetherness, I think. In the two plays, there is a need of togetherness.
Yeah. Maybe it's not healing, but maybe it's like temporarily removing bandages and then putting them
Yeah.
back on. We don't heal,
Yeah.
but at least we take the bandages off a few minutes
Uh,
and then we
mm,
put them back on. Both these projects are very Lebanese projects.
yes. All of the projects
All
are
those
very
projects. And I definitely want to talk about Yousef Beidas because he's a character that I'm obsessed with and have been obsessed with like for 10 years. But both these two plays are focused on the sort of really the nuances of Lebanese society and the fragments and the fractures and the experience of living in those spaces. And so I wonder how it feels to perform them mostly abroad.
What you're saying, it's true. It's really about nuances. And we feel it when we have some Lebanese in the audience. It's true. But there is something also that is very, very, very universal. And this is where I get the feedback abroad. For example, in Augurs, I got this beautiful feedback from the janitor of the theater who came and watched the play. We were in Lyon, in La Croix, and he told me, well, now we understood how in France the theater is not a revolution for us anymore. Or from another audience member, we were in Reims, and he said, "Oh, it was before the French elections. Okay, now I'm going to tell people to come to see how theater can change the world and how theater can be political again." And if we stay in Augurs, it is this figure of two women. Like today, in general, you don't see women of their age being on stage. It's all the time men. They can be on stage on their 70s, their 70s. They can do. They can be out and about, men actors, and then they are everywhere. They have characters also in the classical plays. And just like for the audience to see these two bodies, like very powerful bodies and mature bodies and mature experience, for the Belgian French audience, it was something. But
Yeah.
it's not from a gaze of a Lebanese actresses. It's actresses in general, because you need to feel as an audience to see that the women, they can be in the space, and they can be two, and they can be women. In Ordali, for example, which is really even more nuances on the Lebanese history,
Oh,
on
for
the
sure.
creation of the Greater Lebanon, on uh, it was about sadness. One of the audience members told me sadness is universal. It's because really I tried with the actors in this play, like really to dig in this sadness and this melancholy. So I hope the audience don't come to see a Lebanese play now. They come to see a play that is spoken in Arabic also, because the play are subtitled. Even though the actors, they speak French, I could have done it in French. But it's also important politically for me to make the audience listen to this language and to have subtitles. And when they speak some French, you'll have subtitles in Arabic, because no, Arabic is associated with other things. In Europe, mainly, I'll talk about Europe because I've never performed anywhere else abroad. So it's also for me important politically to bring the play in its original language, in its original theme, and also the audience to come to watch art and not to fetishize an Arab woman director, because it's very easy. We're going to see a play by she's an Arab, and her hair and her stuff. I've heard
Yeah.
these.
Liberated Arab woman. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So now I think I am in a moment in my that they come to see a play, uh, and yes, we never ask if a German play is performed, for example, abroad. That is very, very German, like many of the classical. We never,
Yeah. It's not that I'm trying to make you uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, it's okay.
I, uh, mm,
Like if somebody goes to watch Shakespeare and they're uncomfortable with the English, I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, but ماشي الحال,
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Oh,
You can handle the discomfort. If my existence makes you a little uncomfortable, that's okay. That's fine. You can handle
true.
it.
True, true. And especially, I don't want also to educate the audience. Like, really, this is because sometimes we can fall in this trap. Like, you come from the Middle East, educate us. I am not here to educate you. I would have been an educator or a teacher. I am an artist. I don't want to educate you. This is what I'm proposing. And this is it. If you want to search for things, search for them now. You have the internet because you have many times. Oh, explain to us why is it so? Why is it so? It's not written encyclopedia on my head. So do your research, travel the world. But my art is not made to educate. بيقولوا لك بلبنان تعمل مقابلة شو الرسالة تبع المسرحية؟ قلت لها أنا مش ساعي بريد إنه شو الرسالة؟ ليش بده يكون في رسالة بالمسرحية؟ عرفت؟ وما فيش رسالة.
Yeah.
فهي this is the trap that I always try, but also I'm very well surrounded by the people who take care and produce my work abroad. I'm very, very well surrounded. So this is what I try to do. And I don't do it by myself. I do it also with the whole team.
Can we talk about Yousef Beidas for a second?
Yes, sure.
I'm obsessed with this guy. I drive by the Interbank building almost every single day. Hamra. In 2019, at an Africa event in Beirut, we stopped doing events because of the situation. We did one event the end of 2019, and I did this whole like half an hour presentation about about Interbank and Yousef Beidas because I was obsessed with him. And I was amazed at how few people know this person's name. It's amazing to me. So I'd love to just talk about that production.
It was a cycle on economy, and there are two formats, really, because everything was it was the lockdown, and I was working on Augurs, and suddenly I started working because I had to write. So I started my research on him, and also the format is not a theater play; it's a board game where 21 people of the audience are gathered together.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's a betting on on love neurosis. Is like what if love was compared to bank to the bank investments
Yeah.
and breakdowns. Also on some lexicon that is shared between love and finance. So it was mainly about this who killed Yousef Beidas, and as if we were on an intra bank, and slowly it unfolds to have all this history of the bank, because normally people, when they speak finance or economy, they can tell you whatever because they would say the people won't understand. This is why
Yeah.
now we are in a deep trouble because
Yeah.
they will never understand. But what I try to do with the team is to really make it look like love, and you would understand what is it to be in debt during love, or when you are full of course love is a unconditional stuff like finance, but this is what we try to do. So there is this format, and another format I could send to you is the Rise and Fall of Orient Swiss. So it retraces the last days of Yousef Beidas in Lucerne before he was arrested. Both pieces are, by the way, still touring. And the other one is really a format of radio play. But now that I perform as a musical lecture, as a performance with music, and this retraces the last days of Yousef Beidas and the last hours before the port blast. So this one you could listen to it.
Amazing. You say you're not an educator, but let's just take a moment.
Of education,
And
of pedagogy.
yeah. I get it. But let's say somebody like me who does not know an enormous amount about theater from Lebanon or theater from the Arab world. Is there like a short list of theater makers, actors, actresses, directors, playwrights that you're like, if you're new to this world, this is a really good entryway into this world that you really have no excuse because you can look them up all online. So whether you're sitting in Sydney, or you're sitting in South Africa, or you're sitting in Casablanca or Bogota or Los Angeles or London or Beirut, right? You can go online and you can find these people, and you should if you're interested in theater.
So yes, of course, I can give you some names, uh, but unfortunately, not all of them have a presence online because this is the particular thing about theater is the mobility also of theater. There, like you see the whole play, and it's not only the book that you read; it's not the play, or it's very different. Like when it's recorded, it's really different. But of course, if I want to start with the generation that is older and of me, I really think of one person who really has inspired me is Haysam Khalid, for example, and all of his play. I remember seeing his plays when I was really in my early years of university. Haysam Khalid. Of the people who are even older is Roja Assaf, of course, or Remo Jbara that I've never read any. It was not published because he used to do adaptations, but I've only seen videos of Remo Jbara. I could think also of Moula Daniel. I can think, of course, of Siham Nasir, who has really no presence online and who was a great educator also in the Lebanese university. These are the directors and playwrights that are older, but if I think of people of my generation, I could think of my friends in the Zafak Theater Company, who are doing like loads of great work since 18 years. Of people also like Collective Karaba. I can think also, for example, of course, of Ali Shahrour, who is a great choreographer. Uh, and the younger generation, there are many people who are now flourishing and trying all their best. But this is the people I'm thinking of right now. But if you want to talk also about actors and actresses, of course, Julia Assar, who has worked a lot in theater. And of course, never to forget Lina Abiad, Ali Al Khalidi, who are great theater directors and also great educators. We can think of also Sahar Asaf, who is from my generation, or Lucien Bourjaili, who is also a great director. I can think of many peers. What is very beautiful about our community, a small community, and that we know each other and that we support each other as much as we can. Actors and actresses, really, for me, I think of Julia Assar, whom I love to work with.
Chrystèle, thanks so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.